Hello and welcome back to the Jump Show, back for month 2. Got a bit of an interesting one this time round. We're going to start off with the eye catchers of the month of what's just happened. We'll start with Dan. Who was your eye catcher of the month or horse that impressed you?
Well, nice of you to introduce us anyway, mate. Anyway, it's good to
to
be back.
Everyone knows the gang now. Absolutely.
Oh, did they?
Absolutely.
You're not forgetting about all the new viewers that might be pouring in. They've never seen us before, and all they thought of your first impression of you is rude. So
Absolutely.
Well done. So anyone who might be new and doesn't know me, my name's Dan. Nice to meet you all. And yeah, so we'll go on to the eye catchers straight in. No messing around from Willow as per usual. So one I'll give you with a view to the winter months, I think, is Red Rookie. Made a really good chase debut a couple of weeks ago at Chepstow, was second to a race fit rival who made it all from the front and on good ground at Chepstow. Was probably never really going to get to him. I think pretty much every horse in that card made all. But he made decent ground from the rear. He's unbeaten on heavy ground, so I imagine he's the type who'll pick up a decent handicap in the winter around 2 miles. A stiff 2 miles probably will suit ideally. And the other one, because I can't help but get slightly excited about festival handicaps way too early, is Utread, Joseph O'Brien and Gigginstown. He's had a strange career thus far. He was a bumper winner on debut in April 2019. He was then second in a strong maiden hurdle back in November of that same year. I think we went back to win a listed bumper. And he's just kind of been a bit all over the place since. He had 2 runs last season in listed and graded novice hurdles where he ran pretty well. He finally got off the mark a week ago in fairly workmanlike fashion. But I think it was a slowly run race, which wouldn't have suited, but he still did it well enough. He's got a Royal Bond entry, but there's a lot of stamina on his damn side of the pedigree. And just based on the connections Gigginstown do very well in this particular race, and Joseph O'Brien has won it as well, I'm just wondering if he might make up into a Martin Pipe horse come March. He's got a decent profile for it. He's still a novice. He's getting a bit more experience. Connections like to target that race. So he's one I've got in the back of my mind for the Martin Pipe already.
Lovely stuff. And Jake, if you'd like to also introduce yourself, because that's what we do on this podcast.
I thought I'm the second host here. Dictating what happens.
I catch up on the past month or horse that impressed you.
Yep, so Jake Price here. Nice to meet you all. The eye catcher that we're going for this week is going to be Operation Overlord. Now, this is a JP McManus owned horse for Lucinda Russell, so up in the north. And on the 31st of October, it ran in a 2.5 mile novice hurdle. Now, he's been a bit of a strange horse over the years. He's ran a couple of times, had a couple of wind ups. You know, he's been in and out, but I think they finally got him back to where they want him. And running the other day in this novice hurdle, he's a really big horse. You know, he's going to be a grand chaser. And he was staying on nicely through the field, jumps the last in about 3rd place, coming through for 2nd and, you know, going to challenge. And then the horse that was in 2nd just completely hung left and completely took him out, really. Hampered him really badly, bumped him not once but twice. And Operation Overlord managed to get past him, and then in the final half furlong, started going after the leader, who was a Donald McCain horse, who obviously they've been going really well recently. He was a point winner, so he looks like quite a nice type as well. And yeah, he closed within a length and a half at the line, despite being hampered so badly. I think 3 miles obviously is going to be his trip eventually. And he's been given an opening mark of 112. So I think that'll look quite nice to exploit at some point. Obviously with JP McManus horses, it might be hard to know when that's going to be. But yeah, he's one to keep an eye on. And then a horse that that impressed me over the last month or so was Phil Dorr. Now, this is a juvenile hurdler for Gordon Elliott. And the way he jumped on his hurdle debut was just immense. Like, he absolutely winged them. Obviously, it was the race last year that Quilixios won at Down Royale. So, you know, there's a bit of, Gordon does send a good one there. He's going for the grade 3 that Zanahiyr won last year at Ferryhouse next. So if he wins that, I think he's going to be, you know, he's already the favourite for the Triumph. I think he'll, you know, go even further favourite. And something else is that he was beaten by a horse in France called In This World. And he went and won for Dan Skelton the other day at Warwick. So the form, even his flat form, was working out quite nicely. But the way he jumped, I think he'll be a much better horse over hurdles than the Skelton one. And yeah, I think he is an early pick for the Triumph, really.
Oh, he was brilliant. That round of jumping, as you say, was absolutely just majestic. He was like so uncomplicated. for a juvenile as well. Like, he did everything like you'd want. I know it was a bit of a muddling race and whatever, but he dealt with it so well. Like, there was so much to like about that. The other one, also a brilliant jumper, novice, my mate Mozzie, is absolutely electric. Different styles. He's literally just wings them. Goes slightly to his right, but I think he'll probably win the Royal Bond. But those guys, no, that was just jump hurdles so well. It's brilliant to see.
Yeah.
Seal of approval from the whole panel here at the Jump Show on those two, that's for sure. My eye catcher is you're going to be waiting a long time for this horse to win, but it's coming from the Charlie Hall Chase, and it's Mighty Thunder. He was pitched in at a high level on his seasonal return, obviously because it was his high mark, but he ran well, but ultimately class told. He's currently £6 higher than when winning the Scottish National last year, and I'd imagine the whole season's going to be geared around getting him back there off a workable mark. Or maybe even they might go back for the Midlands National, which he came in second last year to that JP McManus horse, which I can't remember the name of. But yeah, I think Mighty Thunder is going to have a few runs over 3 miles. He's going to pot around, and then he's going to really attack those staying competitions in the late spring. The next segment we've got is called Stat Attack. We're going to be looking at a stat for the month, or in this case, I think a few of us have looked at the Cheltenham November specifically, and I'll head over to Jake for his stat.
Yeah, so I've been looking at November as a whole rather than just like the Cheltenham November meeting this weekend. And a good stat I found was about Venetia Williams chasers. I will caveat it with we need some bloody rain, but I'll go through it anyway. So since 2012, she's had 310 runners in chases during the month of November, and 62 of them were won. So that's about a 20% strike rate. And then, yeah, I mean, the problem with it though is that they're all on softer ground than we've got at the minute. So if you took out all the good, you know, the runners who ran on good, then that record would increase to 59 winners from 276 runners. So that goes up to 21.5% strike rate. So she's, you know, we do need the rain for this stat to come true, really. But if it does come, then, you know, there's a meeting at Ascot next weekend, which she does quite well at. There's also meetings coming up at Foss Lass and Bangor as well. So if we get some rain for them and she's got some chases in, then they're the ones to be looking at.
Brilliant. My stat comes specifically from the November meeting, and it's geared around a trainer who does well here. Kerry Lee, she sent 7 runners here since she started training, and that's given her 3 winners and a +18 at level stakes profit. From what I can see, she only has 1 runner on the card, and that's Storm Control in the staying chase on Sunday. He's £2 below his last winning mark, and historically does improve for his first run of the season. So he definitely looks like one to keep an eye on. And Dan, have you got a stat, or knowing you again, multiple stats?
You know me so well. Yeah, again, like you, I look mainly at the November meeting, just for a few trainers who do well and some that perform a bit below par. Harry Frye has a pretty impressive record for minimal runners. He has 5 wins and a place from just 15 runners in the past 10 years. 2 of the 3 have come in bumpers. So 2 wins from 3 runners. Both came in the mayor's listed event. And he runs Whiskey Express, who's a half sister to Ishkara Lady, who sort of won that race last year. So she's one to note. And 3 from 8 in hurdle races, and all 3 of his wins came in the opening conditional jockey's handicap on the Friday. So I don't think he has a runner in that this year. Others who don't actually perform as well as you'd probably expect. Gordon Elliott's only 1 from 22 in the last 10 years. And up 2 that will have plenty of runners that perform below par. Nicky Henderson and Nigel Twiston-Davies have quite low strike rates given the amount of ammo they tend to throw at this race. Both perform way below market expectations. So I'd treat those runners with a bit of caution.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our Cheltenham November meeting preview. We're also going to look at the Morgiana hurdle shortly as well. We'll start with the feature on Saturday, the Paddy Power. There's been a few market moves, some more recent than others. Your current favourite, Layla, was 16s, now into about 5 to 1. Al Dancer, 20s into 7s. And I think the most recent one's Galahad Quest, 33s into 10s. Jake, are you fancying one of these horses that's had a bit of a gamble on, or are you looking away?
Yeah, I think my one's received quite a bit of money, but I'm not really that worried by it. Like, I think it's still value at the price he is now anyway. And that's Midnight Shadow. So obviously this horse ran in the Caspian Caviar last season, and he ran a really good race, finished second behind the Irish complete handicap lot, Chatham Street Lad, and he thrashed the rest by about 12 lengths. So obviously it was a really good run. But the thing you've got to realise about it last season was he ran in the Old Roan as a prep, and I think he was actually supposed to come to the Paddy Power rather than the Caspian Caviar, but he ran so badly that I think it just took them a lot longer to get him back. And you know, despite finishing, I think it was beating about 30 lengths in 10th place or something last season, this year he's run an absolute cracker in the Old Roan. He was off a mark of 146, and he finished third to All Mankind, who obviously is like a 164 horse, and in second was Itchy Feet, and he's a 155 horse. So he's only been put up £1 for that effort, which I think is, you know, really reasonable from the handicapper. I think he could have been a lot harsher. And now he comes to the Paddy Power £1 lower than he was in the Caspian Caviar last year, despite having an infinitely better prep race. I think he's going to have a really good chance. The ground being, you know, decent is, you know, fine for him. He seems to really like Cheltenham. He's won the Rail Kill in the past. He's also won the Dipper when Champ obviously fell, but he still went and won it. And, you know, I think he's a horse who does appreciate the Cheltenham Hill. So, yeah, I think Midnight Shadow would be one. And the other one I will touch on there is I'm going to have a little saver on Al Dancer. He's now £5 lower than he was when he was third last year. And I think the good ground is definitely going to help him because he's potentially a suspect stayer. I think he probably does get 2.5, but I mean, Nigel Twiston-Davies tried him over 3 miles last season and he had no chance in that. But yeah, he's now with Sam Thomas, who, you know, he's been doing really well at the start of this season. And yeah, I think I will be having a saver on him.
Lovely. Dan, your pick for the race?
It's a fascinating race. It really is. There's so many different angles in here. Obviously, you've got like a Cool Cody back for more. So many that are having their first runs for new trainers, wind ops, just so many things to get stuck into. It's like a really, really good race, this. The one who would be probably at the top of my shortlist is a horse I've had a lot of time for. And he actually would have been like the first name on my list of my horse to follow list had he not won a race at the end of last season, which was a bit annoying. That's Galahad Quest. Obviously, I think that there's been a fair few moves from him already. People kind of caught on when he was like 33 to 1, 28 to 1, but 12 to 1, I still think there's a bit of value left in that. Obviously, he was very eye-catching last time out. There seems to be bundles of improvement left in him, and he's did actually win at Cheltenham over hurdles. The form of that actually looks quite good. My only small concern is probably the ground might be on the quick side for him. And also 5-year-olds don't have the best record in the race, but they have won it before. But I still think there's room off that mark. I think you might have to be fairly well in here to win this because it's a really competitive event. But I really do like Galahad Quest as a horse. The other one, a big price that interests me, I think you can get 33 to 1 still, and that's Dayrandi Karjak. He's a really promising novice back in 2019-2020 season. He beat Pim, Watmore, El Presente, Eric LaRouge, third win under a penalty in a novice chase back then. And then he finished third in a pair of grade 2s. The latter of which was that Dipper, which Jake mentioned, Midnight Shadow ended up winning when Champ fell at the second. Obviously, Midnight Shadow is off 147 here. Paint the Dreams was second off 152. And they were 2 lengths and half length, respectively, ahead of Dayrandi Karjak off level weights. And now Dayrandi Karjak gets £10 and £15 from them both. So obviously, on that form, he looks fairly well handicapped. It hasn't gone right for him since. It's been a contribution of factors, soft ground, minor setbacks. Alan King reportedly was never happy with him at all last season. That probably goes to show what a very intermittent campaign he had. Wasn't seen very frequently. But he's still only an 8-year-old. He still only had 8 starts over fences. And he's supposedly been aimed at this race. And the ground, which we're presuming is probably going to be just off good in places, something like that, that's going to be right up his street. This is a horse that needs good ground. And Alan King's in great form, probably better than he ever was at any stage of last season. And he's actually been the most profitable trainer to follow at this meeting in the last 5 seasons. So at a big price in a race where there's loads of pace, I know it normally pays to be prominent on the chase course here, but I think he's going to be ridden patiently. I think he might be able to pick up the pieces from the bag if he's back to the best of his form.
I like your outside the box thinking. I'm going to keep it really simple. I think Al Dancer wins this. A lot of his best forms come when fresh. I believe he beat Master Tommy Tucker first time out last year. He ran in the race last year, finished third, as Jake said, £5 lower. I think he'd go really well. One at a price who I just keep getting suckered into and he never wins. He's just a bit of a dog, really. Spirit of the Games for Dan Skelton.
Oh, yes.
He does run really well
boy.
at these trial meetings. I believe he finished second in the race last year behind Cool Cody. I'm just looking at it now. In 2020, he ran in the Caspian Caviar and finished second. He is lower in the weights this year, 20-1. If you wanted one that might give you a run for your money, I'd go with him. I thought he'd actually stand a chance at the festival last year, stupidly. But yeah, if he's a good laugh anyway. We'll move on to Sunday's action, and we have the Schler Chase. This is a really good race. I like its makeup, and we will head over to Dan for his fancy.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm really interested to see the tactics on the Nichols horses. Obviously, Rouge Vif is running for him for the first time. Politolog as well is there. Both of them like to get on with things and be up with the pace. Put the Kettle On also likes to get on with things. So it's going to be a small field, but there might be a bit of a burn up front here. To be honest, I don't have the strongest opinion on this race. Races like these, I struggle to really get to grips with from like a betting perspective, because most of them are known quantities and the market tends to get them about right. So I do like Nuba Negra if I was forced to pick. I just think he goes extremely well fresh. They would have had him geared up for this. The ground's in his favour. And obviously he's run some crackers in open company last season. I think he's just waiting for a big one to fall into his lap. This one might be it, but it's not a race I have a massively strong opinion of, to be honest.
I fancied Nuba Negra myself. I think he will win this. There wasn't much separating him and Put the Kettle On the Champion Chase, and he did have to come and get switched out to make his challenge. As you said then, he's best when fresh. And just watching back last year's race, I don't think Put the Kettle On was sort of at her best. Obviously, you've only beat Duke des Genevas by a length. So if she comes into the race in the same form, I actually think she'll get trounced by these lot. But she does have a fantastic record over the course and distance, and maybe the quicker ground's also going to pay into her strengths as well. But yeah, Nuba Negra for me, I think he'll go off favourite. I think he'll win. And Jake, do you have a fancy here?
Yeah, I think as Dan said, it's not really a race that I'm rushing to be having a bet in, to be honest. I think, it's a very interesting race, and I think we'll learn quite a bit from it. All the contenders who turn up have obviously got a chance, so that's something you love to see. I think the one who's probably a bit overpriced is probably Politolog. His record fresh is really good. I think he's won every run fresh after a break of 95 days, other than two, where one he unseated and the other one he was second. So, the fresh angle with him is definitely there. And also he won the Timber Creek first time up last season. Something I also find interesting is he was a shorter price than both Put the Kettle On and Nuba Negra in the Champion Chase before he had to withdraw. Not that means he would have beaten them, obviously, but the market has completely swung around there. So I think him back to 2 miles, I think he would have a good chance, and he's probably the one who's overpriced. Put the Kettle On, I think she's a great mare. You can't knock anything she's done, but I think she's just going to be always the type of horse that I want to take on. Really, I don't really envision a time where I'd want to back her. And the race that she won last year completely fell apart. Obviously, Defi Desoy didn't run his race at all. He was sent off favourite. And then I can't remember who she beat, but it was a much weaker field than this. So yeah, I wouldn't be rushing to back her, especially at the short price that she is, as much as she loves Cheltenham, as everyone always goes on about. But yeah, I think it's just a race to watch and enjoy, really.
Okay, we'll move on next to the Great Wood Hurdle. Again, a really nice race, and I'll go back to you, Jake, for your selection.
Yeah, so I've got a couple that I'm going to be playing here. I think it's one of those races where you can have two bets if if that's the way you play. I think that no problem with that at all. The first one I like, who is a bit annoying that he's been well back this week, but he's coming over from Ireland. That's Advanced Virgo for Charles Byrne. Now, I've had this horse in my tracker for ages, because last November he had some good, he came into a grade A handicap hurdle at Fairy House on the back of some really good flat runs just for fitness, and he ran off 121. And he kind of he almost bolted up, really. He won it really easily, and he beat some good horses, all of the top Irish 2 mile handicap hurdlers last season. He obviously went on, they went on to win handicap hurdles like Leopardstown and things like that. So I think that was a good race. And since then, I'm pretty sure they've just been trying to get his mark down, because he hasn't really been put into many races, to be honest. And yeah, it's a bit weird, because he's now running off 133 in in Britain, but I think that's actually quite lenient. So he's 130 in Ireland, and normally they give him like £6 or £7. So if you're saying that he's only been given £3 and that's lenient, then in Ireland that's like 126, 127 type mark is how I think of it. So I think it's a lenient mark. Obviously, the connections agree because they put Daryl Jacob rather than putting like a claimer on or something like that. So yeah, I think he would have a good chance. And the other one I like is Cormier. Now, obviously, he ran in the Welsh Champion hurdle the other day, finishing good fourth. I think he's got a good chance because he ran in this last year on only his third hurdle start. He beat Favois on his hurdles debut. He then won under a penalty, and he came here running off 136, and he finished seventh, which was a decent effort, considering the horses ahead of him, like the Shunter and Ballyandy and stuff, were far more experienced than he was. He comes back into the race this year off of a lower mark, so I think there's obvious claims there. Brian Ellison won this race back in 2018 with Nietzsche, so the trainer does go for this race as well. And that fourth behind Glory and Fortune, I think in the World Champion hurdle was a good run. Leon Cavallo has since come out and ran well behind Soaring Glory, and he was in third place. So yeah, I think there's form there. Off a lower mark, I think he is my second play.
When you said you had an Irish horse that you fancied, I thought for a second you had changed your opinion and you were going to go for the other Irish horse in the field. But I think Dan has a strong fancy in this one.
Yeah, and that one is Jesse Evans. I think in general has a lovely profile for this race. On the BHA site, Harry Cobden's already been jocked up, so that bodes well. And Noel Meade doesn't tend to just throw them over here for the sake of it. It's fairly selective when it comes to sending his horses here. I think he had one finish third in the Greatwood a few years ago now, I think from his only runner, and probably didn't have as anywhere near a convincing a profile as Jesse Evans does. But he was a very useful novice last season. He has a great run in the Galway Hurdle recently, went fourth, and he's had a couple of spins on the flat in the last couple of months as well, just to keep him fit, performing very well on both accounts. I think he's actually up to a mark of 92 on the flat in Ireland now, so clearly a very useful operator. So he's a second season hurdler now. He's got plenty of handicap experience. They actually did think he might be a Grade 1 performer at some stages last year. So I think his horse has probably got a race like this definitely within his bounds. And like Advanced Virgo, actually, he's only been given £3 extra by the British handicapper. So not the £7 pretty much standard tax that seemingly was applied, especially the October meeting. That's been avoided here. He loves good ground. The conditions are going to be ideal for him. I think a quickly run 2 miles is perfect. And I think there's still a fair amount of value in 12 to 1. So he would be a strong each way play for me anyway.
Yeah, when we were discussing in the chat who our selections are going to be, I obviously looked at all your selections. And when you said Jesse Evans, I want to absolutely agree with you. I had down on my initial notes because I didn't want to pin my colours to anyone, but I think that's most probably going to be the bet in the race. So you've definitely persuaded me. There are a couple of
much.
Yeah, I know. I just follow you in blindly, actually.
You won't be doing well this season.
There are a couple of horses in the race that I did think would go well. The first is Botox Has. He ran a listed race last year and was only beaten a couple of lengths by Milkwood when having to give him £5. And that obviously Milkwood's turned out to be a very good horse. His next 2 runs were on bad ground, and he did bomb out at Cheltenham as well. So sort of right off the back into last year. He fell on his chasing debut, but he's back over hurdles this weekend. And I think there's going to be some juice in that mark. So if not today, maybe another day for him. And the other one is Ballyandy, who could go well. Maybe he's going to need some rain. There's obvious risk attached. He's a 10-year-old and he struggled on his return to the track last month. But he was second in this race last year behind the Shunter, who was rated 128 at the time. He's now rated 143 over hurdles and 153 over fences. Ballyandy's now £8 lower than that day. As I said, he would ideally want softer ground, which is a concern. And maybe they might be gearing up to the International next month. But yeah, Ballyandy's one that's going to be on my radar. We turn our attention to Ireland for the Morgiana Hurdle, also known as the Willie Mullins Benefit Race. He's won 9 out of the last 10 years and was only beaten a neck the other year, which was, I believe it was last year. We have the winners of the last 3 renewals in the race, Abacadabra's Soldier and Sharjah. It has a really good look to it. Jake, who's your fancy?
Yeah, so thankfully, Willie has listened to me, and he's going to be running Echoes and Rain in champion hurdle type races this season, trying to make her a champion hurdle horse rather than stretching it out to 2.5 miles. I think that's going to be the better play with her. when you've got a mare with ability like that, you should definitely try it, especially how keen she is. I don't, as I mentioned in the last episode, I don't think she'd stay 2.5. So yeah, I think that's a good route of her. I'm not sure about her first time up though. Not that she can't win first time up, because as Patrick said, she does work well at home in terms of she overworks herself just from being keen. So she's probably done a bit more than the others that are running first time up. But I think the play at the prices has got to be Saldier, and he's now race fit, and I think he's got a great chance. So he won the Galway hurdle in first time cheap pieces, carrying a top weight off a mark of 155. Now, obviously, to win a handicap off top weight, it is a great effort. But to win the Galway hurdle off top weight, that takes some doing. And it was really good to see him back, because he's been a horse who's been a bit hard to keep sound. He's been a bit in and out. Last season he was pretty disappointing, but those cheap pieces really did seem to light him up. So they kept him on it, kept the pieces on for a grade 3 at Tipperary last month, which was the race that St. Roy won before coming to this race. And yeah, he put in a really good effort again. He made a really bad mistake at the penultimate flight, which could have easily ended his race, but he got back up, found another foot, kept on going, and went away to score by about 3 lengths. And that form's working out really well, because Darasso was second, and he went and won the Lismullen hurdle last week, which is another grade 2. And the third was Jason the Militant, and he went and won a listed race on the flat over 1.5 miles. So the form is there. He's race fit. And I know, he does obviously have to give £7 to Echoes in Rain, but at the prices, I'd much rather be backing him.
I thought Echoes in Rain would just win this myself. I do love a favourite. Both Sharjah and Soldier were 5-year-olds when they run the race, and obviously she's a 5-year-old herself. And if we've learned nothing from the last couple of years, it's just how difficult it is to give these good mares £7. Hopefully she's matured. Hopefully she's matured. Go on.
Something I will say about Sharjah as well, though, is that I think his main aim obviously is going to be that race at Leopardstown again. He's won it for the last 3 years. I think they're going to go for the 4th, so I don't see why they would have him tuned up for this first time out. I think it'll be a bit of a prep race, ready to be bang on for Boxing Day.
I hope she's matured over the summer, and if that's the case, then I think she is going to be hard to beat here. The price obviously does reflect that. Dan, have you got a strong opinion on the Morgiana hurdle?
I agree with Jake, to be honest, in pretty much most things he said there. I definitely think that Saldier would be the play at 9-2. I think that's a very fair price. Echoes in Rain, for all that she's been impressive, this is a tough little task now. To be odds on against the likes of Sharjah, Saldier, Abacadabras, that's quite impressive, really. I think she could finish second or third here, and it'd still be a very, very good effort, and almost maybe a career best. I think it's a tough assignment, and the fact that she's odds on is, to me, is very, very short. Saldier, again, he's race fit. I think this is probably going to be more his prime target than it would be the likes of Sharjah. Obviously, I agree with Jake. Sharjah probably back to Leopardstown. That'll be his kind of main target, mid-season target. And yes, it's again not a race I is massively strong opinion on, but I think 9-2 about Saldier is more than fair.
Okay, we're going to move on to the anything else section. So any other bets or horses to keep an eye on for this weekend? And I'll head straight back to you, Dan.
Yeah, so a few that I'm interested in. I think Dragon Bones in the 3-mile handicap hurdle. I think she has a very good chance. Ran an absolute stormer at the October meeting. I think she's got scope of a mark of 132. So that she'll be one I'm interested in. I think she's a relatively decent price as well in a race that isn't massively deep. Two actually that really jump out to me are in bumpers, and they're both horses that in my horse to follow list. One in the listed mares bumper is a horse called Signal Point. So the form of her races are working out really, really well. The first run, she was behind Lady Adair, who looks very smart, won easily for Harry Frye recently. Martha Willow was back in third. She won her next 2, actually lines up again here, despite being £8 better. Signal Point is £8 better off of her at the weights. And yet on opening prices, Signal Point's a point bigger in the betting, despite beating her by over 11.5. And he's better weighted, which doesn't quite make sense to me. She was poorly positioned at Cheltenham next time out, but still ran a very, very nice race from the rear. The winner was sold for 140,000 and then won easily on Hurdle's debut. And the runner-up had really solid bumper form all throughout last season and bolted up on her first start this season. So everywhere the horses around her go, the form just seems to be getting cranked. The Skeltons had LS Bell, who kind of sort of won this race last year. So They know what it takes to get one here. I think she's quite a smart mare, and I think she is a solid each way option. And then the listed bumper on the Sunday, I'm really excited to see Orkin Risk out again. He travelled like an absolute dream at the October meeting last time, and also that probably is actually to his detriment because he got there just so soon because he just was going so easily down the hill. And I think he was in the lead 4 furlongs up, 5 furlongs out, and he was just there to be shot at. But even still, he kept on really well. He then got dragged massively out to his left by, I think it was Top Dog, who just drifted all the way across the track. That was a cracking run for a horse who was carrying a penalty as well. He doesn't have to carry a penalty here. I think he's a really nice little horse. I mean, he'll make a cracking hurdler in time. He's not the biggest, but I think he's a quite precocious type that can go very close here.
Only one for me this weekend, and that's going to be Picard in the Supreme Trial. I think he would have been put in everyone's tracker after his run on debut behind the entry bumper winner at Nappers Hill. This does look like a tough little race, but I think he could definitely go on to win races this season. Jake, if you want to wrap us up with your anything else section.
Yeah, so I completely agree with Dan on Orkin Risk. We were both there at the October meeting. We went down to the paddock on purpose just to have a look at every single one of the horses in there. And as Dan said, Orkin Risk wasn't the biggest. He looks like a hurdler rather than a chaser, but the way he travelled through that race with a penalty, as Dan said, like, you know, I think without that penalty, he's going to go so close. The race seems to be cutting up a little bit. I don't think all of the horses that would be, you know, really well fancied are going to be going. So we'll see who turns up. But yeah, Orkin Risk, yeah, I think he's going to have a cracking shout. Away from that, in the intermediate handicap hurdle on the Saturday, I've already put up a horse called Mackelduff for Ollie Murphy. You know, he's been absolutely smashing the market. He's now 7-2 second favourite.
Jesus.
But I still think he's got a good chance.
That moved. It was like 7-1 where I checked earlier today. Wow.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's got a great chance. He's been one of those horses who just has learned every single start that he's had so far to date. He ran in novice hurdles at the back end of last season. Then in May, he went and won his maiden hurdle by about 11 lengths, just absolutely bolted up, like, you know, not a bother to him. And then at Aintree last month, he ran a really interesting race because he was like hanging right the whole way down the straight as he was going around the outside of the field to overtake everyone. And he wasn't really concentrating at all. Like, he was just looking around at the crowd. And yeah, he went away and won by about 3 1/4 lengths. If they can get him, you know, if that got the freshness out of him and he concentrates a bit better, I think there's way more potential than a mark of 122 to come. So he would be a selection in that race. And then we'll round it off by going to Fontwell on Sunday for the Southern National, the place where we all want to be, really, instead of Prestbury Park. But yeah, there's a horse here in for Katie Price called Premier de Troyes, and I think he's got a really good chance. So he was with Archie Watson last season, and he ran some nice races at the hurdles, won up to mark 124. And then they sent him chasing right at the end of the season in April before selling him. Obviously, this was planned, but he ran over 3 mile 2 furlong at Fontwell, so obviously just shy of the Southern National trip. And he stayed on so strongly over that trip. He beat Fullback, who's a 138 horse, and he had the favourite was Cool Andy, who was about 40 lengths behind, got absolutely destroyed. And again, he's about 138 horse as well. So that was a really nice opening effort over fences at the course as well, and near to the distance. So I think, you know, the 3 mile, 3.5 furlong is actually going to help him rather than hinder him. He then ran a couple of races over the summer with Katie Price. I think it was probably just so they could get used to the horse, give him some runs over fences. And he beat Ballymoy at Newton Abbot on his first start for the stables. So that was a really good effort as well. Again, that came over 3 mile 2 furlong at Newton Abbot. So he's clearly a stayer. He ran over 2 mile 6.5 furlong at Stratford, and you know, I think as I've just mentioned, that's probably a bit too short for him these days. He still ran well. Ballymoy fell at the last though and completely hampered him. He had to go all the way around, almost onto the hurdles course to get past him. So he got, you know, completely written off in that one. But he came third still, stayed on well to the line, as you'd expect. They then put him away for an autumn campaign. I assume this would have been the target straight away. He's now down to a mark of 132 for the Southern National, and it's going to be run on like good to soft ground for the first time in I don't know how long. It's normally always bottomless, so that's going to really suit him because all his runs over fences recently have been on good ground. So I think he's got a great chance for the Katie Price team.
Okay, so that looks to wrap up this month's episode of The Jump Show. If you guys have any selections that you really fancy for Cheltenham, then please do let us know. Also, if you have any questions you want us to discuss, we can add in a question answering section into the show for sure. If anyone has anything else to say, feel free.
No, mate. No, all good. Another episode down.
Yeah.
More technical issues and plenty.
Hopefully that wasn't too painful of a watch. All right. And we'll be back next month for another episode of The Jump Show.